So what has been the biggest crowd that you've catered for?
600 people.
Really?
Yeah. This was at the State Banquet at the seat of government in Ghana. Mm-hmm. It was a visit by King Charles. Mm-hmm. So I had 2 sessions. So I had the head of states, the ministers, and King Charles. It was a smaller group, about 40 people. It was a private dining, private catering service. And then I had the people, the attendees of the event, who had other small jobs. There were about 600 people. So that was a challenge.
So you're finally in my town. So I thought I need to get you here before you go to Ghana. Yes. So I want to find out everything about you. I know what you do. Some people may not. So let's start from way back. Who is Kwame? Where did Kwame grow up? What was your upbringing like?
A lot of people don't know, but I was actually born outside of Accra. I was born in a small village called Abatifi.
Okay.
And I lived in a bungalow. And the rules were we were not allowed to go out of the bungalow. So my life between when I was born and when I was 12 was inside like a bungalow. The only time that we would go out was to work or to school
and back.
Or and to church and then back.
So how many siblings how many of you were in the bungalow?
We are 3 boys and I have a little sister.
Okay.
So 4 and then my parents. But then there were other families. So my dad was the head of an institution there and everybody lived in that bungalow. Really? Everybody who worked in the institution lived in that bungalow. Yeah. So we had a playground, and I grew up with a lot of white kids.
Okay. So what was that experience like? I mean, to you as a child, it was normal, I guess.
Yeah, it was normal for me before I left that setting, right? But I think it was an amazing upbringing for me. I grew up around a lot of love, a lot of playing, and my memories are like just
good memories.
Very good memories.
Wow. So then you said you left at 12.
I left at 12
and got to the big city.
So
how did that come about?
It wasn't very different for me, right? It wasn't very different for me because everything I saw in the city, I had either experienced it from the storytelling, people telling. My dad used to travel a lot, so him telling me, or these white kids and their parents telling us stories of what's in a big city and all of that. So it wasn't very different. I adjusted in school very quickly. But in Ghana, when you move into another city or another school, they jump you back.
But yeah.
So I went back so I could catch up with the art curriculum.
Just one grade back.
And I adjusted very quickly, and in a few years I was done with junior high school, and then I went on to high school.
So what inspired the move? Why did your parents get a job in Accra?
So my dad's institution moved him to the city.
Wow. Okay, so what was secondary? What do you guys call secondary school?
High school. Senior high school.
Senior high.
What was it like? I went to an all-boys school.
Was it day or boarding?
It was day and boarding, but I did day because I lived very close to the school.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. I learned a lot from high school. And
what kind of student were you? Were you the clown, the class clown?
No, I was always the class president in every level that I went to. So one thing about me was I always assumed a leadership role anywhere I went, especially in school. All the way to the university, I always had a leadership role in school.
Not even now, but we'll get into that.
Well.
So university, what did you study? Did you go away for university or was that day as well?
So initially I wanted to go into politics, right? But when I had a little situation around going into uni, when I finally ended up going into uni, which was when I intended to go, depending on my grades, they gave me business. Or they gave me. In Ghana, it's very different.
So they give you.
So depending on your grades and what you choose,
yeah,
they give you a course. If you are very strong in like mathematics.
Do they give you options, or they say this?
They give you options.
Okay.
So for instance, if you are very good in science, they will push you to the School of Sciences or like to become a doctor or whatever. Right. So based off of my grades, they gave me business. So but it was all in the work of God, I guess.
Okay,
because it ended up being one of the best.
So university in Ghana is four years, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then you came out of uni. Did you know what you wanted to do? Because over here, oftentimes when we go into university, we're stuck. We don't know what our next step is. We don't know what kind of jobs we want to get into unless it's like strict law, things of that sort. So when you finished uni, what was the plan?
I didn't even have to finish uni to get into working. In my sophomore year, my second year, I started my first business.
Which was?
It was called Biishville.
Oh, okay. So it started from uni?
In uni, yes. So I wasn't offering my services on campus, but the business was initiated and started in uni, when I was in uni.
Okay.
Basically, I used to offer high-end catering services for my stakeholders, and that business took off. Just shortly after I started it, I was there was always like a thing about men in food, and being that young at that time, there was a lot of buzz around it. So I was getting like newspaper recognition, and then that led to a life-changing job, which was I got a call, and then it was for a very important person in Ghana, and at that event, I got all my most powerful clients, I guess, right?
Such as say some. Who you cooked for?
Most of the time NDAs will not allow you, but the few I can mention is a lot of African presidents. I've done King Charles, Hollywood actors, Adam Driver, Idris, Elba, some few that I can say, powerful musicians.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell me after?
I will. And but the highlight of what I do is mostly like families.
Yeah.
I often travel around with families when they go on vacations, go on business meetings. They hire me as a private chef for their engagements. So it's a very interesting job, but it's very fulfilling.
So let's take it back. How did that start? So Kwame, growing up, were you always interested in cooking? What sparked that up?
So being the closest to my mom out of my siblings, I had the opportunity to always stay in the kitchen with her because I was always under her arm. And the advantage also I had living in that bungalow was the fact that we all had gardens at the back of our homes. And I would first hand see my mom go into the garden and get like fresh produce and then see what she could turn it into. And that was very interesting for me. So at a very young age, I knew I would do something related to food, not necessarily be the one in the kitchen.
Right.
It could have been food blogging, it could have been owning a restaurant. I think the aim was to own a restaurant. But the path that I decided to choose was to be able to raise enough capital for myself to do that, right? So it made sense to start a business where I didn't need, or that wasn't capital intensive at the beginning. So it made sense to start a service where I would go into people's homes because my costs were very low. I didn't buy the ingredients, the customer would pay for it, the client would pay for it. Together with my service charge. All I needed was my knives,
to show up. Your seasoning,
electricity, gas, everything was provided by the client because I'm in their home, saucepans, all of those things. So I just showed up with my knives, with ingredients that they have pre-purchased, and I do my thing and get paid a lot and I leave.
So you said ingredients they pre-purchased,
yes.
Meaning seasoning?
It could so the structure of the business is if you book my services So let's get it straight. So I have Biishville, which is a catering company, and then Biishville had a service where I offered private chef services, but it became the cash cow of the business, the one that was making the most money. So I separated that business and made it a business on its own. So if you book a private chef, you make an initial payment of a service charge and ingredient cost, right? So let's say Cathryn wants a service for a birthday for 50 people. I send you an invoice of your menu. Maybe you want a 6-course meal. So all the courses have the ingredients for 50 with the quantity you needed for 50 people. X amount. And then my service charge is X amount. Together you get a fee for booking me. So you make that initial payment and I show up. So before I show up, I have already pre-purchased all the ingredients, and now I have a team, so they would have prepped everything. So we show up and in a matter of a couple of minutes we are done cooking and service begins.
So when you first started, what was the first meal that you perfected and this is your signature?
I had a recipe which was coined out of Impotompoto, which I named spicy potato seed beef sauce. And I'm even cringing mentioning it right now because this was a long time ago. And it was just me trying to try my hands on blending African flavors with continental cuisine. And that is what I've tried to master, which is the Afrofusion cuisine, and being able to promote the potential of the African cuisine. Because if you realize, a lot of the world cuisine, Italian cuisine, European cuisine, American, Chinese, all have influences from the African cuisine, right? So why is it that we've had a time frame where Italian cuisine is the biggest thing, Chinese cuisine is the biggest thing, but we've never had a time where African cuisine has been a big deal, right? So it's been my life's work to champion, being able to promote the African cuisine.
So building Biishville and the whole business, what has been some of the challenges? Because I'm sure you're not doing it by yourself. You have a team. So in getting the team, have there been some challenges in finding the right people? What challenges have you faced?
I mean, for every business, your first challenge is finance. So for instance, if I was beginning and I had the initial capital that I needed to start a restaurant, I would have started on a different scale. In Ghana and even across the world, another challenge is human resource, which is finding the right people who have the expertise to carry out your vision and also be able to work on the same wavelength as you in terms of effectiveness and being able to achieve your goals in a specific time frame. So human resources, I've had a lot of chefs come through me and they come and go, right? Because they are not, people go through a lot of culinary education to be able to reach a certain kind of height. People are also blessed, like myself, I never had a formal culinary education.
Really?
But people are just blessed and know how to, But there are some people back home, because unemployment is at a high rise, people just find an easy way to go. So cooking might be easy as an option.
I don't think it's easy.
It's not. It's not at all. The number of cuts, bends that I have even as a professional, it's just crazy. So human resources definitely, and then being able to sustain in the market segment that you find yourself. So for a business, you need to find a segment in the market that you want to satisfy, or your targeted audience, and being able to sustain that, because now the world is different. After COVID, the world has changed, right? So everybody is finding new ways or innovative ways to do business. To be able to sustain a specific segment of the market is hard, especially when you deal with high-end clients and people who have a lot of money at their disposal. You have a lot of competition, right? So, these are some of the challenges I can speak about.
So when you've gotten your team, what's been the process? Because you said so many people have come and go.
Yeah.
I know in Ghana, with every business, a lot of people come and go, but I'm interested to find out what their process is. So what's your process?
So you go through a thorough training for about 2 months.
Okay.
And that training is done by me in terms of the culinary aspect of it. But it comes to the skill and ethical aspect of it, which is done by also someone else who is an expert in ethics and work ethics and all of that. So after that 2 months training, then I feel like it is now time for you to go to the field. Okay. And now because there are different avenues of work in terms of my portfolio. There's Biishville, there's private chef company, there's ugly chef. Find a way to put the person, and also based on the qualifications they're coming with. For instance, if when I started ugly chef, even though it's a gourmet food service prepared street style, it's more like a takeout. More like KFC,
you can't,
right? You don't need a Michelin starred chef, but the chef I started that business with was a chef in a fine dining restaurant. Okay. Right. So I moved him, and I wanted to employ his capabilities or his abilities to be able to make the business go, but it didn't even end up. Really? Really? His assistant is now the head chef.
Okay.
Okay. So, human resources, and in Ghana, people do business, or people who work for you think you are doing them like a thing. So they don't, they don't do the work to the expectation that you have for them. And it's not their business. So at the end of the month, they'll get paid. You the business, if you make money, fine. If you don't, they'll still get their salary. So and also being able to put systems in place, structure in terms of management to oversee and then make sure. Of
course, because I was going to say when you're not around, what happens?
Me, I'm always watching on my phone on the camera, seeing what is going on. Yeah. But then I have an able manager back home who also initiates and supervises the work. And, unfortunately, when I'm not back home, private chef doesn't really work because it's fully centered on me. Yeah. But all the other businesses are functional.
So before we get into Ugly Chef, I wanted to ask, what has been the biggest crowd that you've catered for?
600 people.
Really?
Yeah. This was at the State Banquet at the seat of government in Ghana. It was a visit by King Charles. So I had 2 sessions. So I had the head of state, the ministers, and King Charles. It was a smaller group, about 40 people, which was a private dining, private catering service. And then I had the people, the attendees of the event, who had other small jobs. We were about 600 people. So that was a challenge. Yeah, it was a challenge combining doing like a more private high-end service and then doing like another service for the attendees. It was quite a challenge.
Wow. How many people did you have assisting you that day?
I had 4 chefs, 3 cooks, and then had a number of waiters and service personnel. Yeah.
Okay, wow. Okay, so Ugly Chef. One day I was in Ghana and then I went to a certain establishment and then I saw you behind and I thought, what are you doing there? You said, this is mine. So how? Because last few years back when I went to that same place, that wasn't there. There were burgers that people usually go for. And now it's not just burgers. I remember I had the wedges.
And then
potato wedges are so
pasta,
nice. How did that come about? Especially, that idea first and then where it is. What inspired all of that?
So basically, because in 2019 I ventured into the nightlife business where I started.
We'll get into that one.
A bar with my best friends. it became more like a habit of staying out late. And the challenge we realized was anytime you go out, or even people coming into Ghana in December, you go out, you party, and you are going home, sometimes you're hungry, but you don't find good food, right? So I decided to start a service where you could get good food, but made in a street style, but also at an affordable point in terms of price. So Ugly Chef came up, and it was to my advantage and the advantage of my customers and the stakeholders to put Ugly Chef in a central point in Accra, or a central point in nightlife. And there's nowhere central than Twist in Ghana. A big shout outs to Eric, the owner of Twist. So we put it in Twist, and it just flew. It just blew up because now we had people coming from Frombach, Bloomba, Mood Bar, Luna, Kruna, everywhere, just at the end of the night to get food. We have a service from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. But in December, sometimes we close around 8 a.m. And then for it to make more financial sense, I decided to add a weekly service where we open in the day for lunch. So people can order lunch and dinner between 11 a.m. and 8 p.m. And then on the weekends, we have 9 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Wow. So you said people come from Luna, Frontback, wherever. Are those people coming to party, or you can literally come and order Ugly Chef and go home?
Basically...
Because will those bouncers allow them to come inside?
So basically, almost everybody ends up at Twist at the end of the night, right? So wherever you go, all the bars you go to, you either end up at Twist or another club, right? So when people end up at Twist, they come to order. But when people are ending up at another club, they go, and then when they are done, they come. But the bouncers allow them to
Okay.
But now we are going to do a service where we'll have an outlet at the front where you can order from.
That makes sense. Just wait instead of coming in. It's not that space. It's big, but it's mostly crowded for
for the club.
Okay, so when did Ugly Chef start?
Ugly Chef started in 2021.
2021. Okay, wow. So how's that going?
Oh, it's amazing.
And then we have Luna. How did that start? Because I think that was a great opportunity, especially at the time.
It was the year of return. 2019.
Big year.
So I had never had a big birthday celebration. So Stanley, who is my partner, and I were looking for a space, and we ended up around Airport Square, Airport 1 Square. And we were sitting in a restaurant just thinking of places to look at. And he mentioned Havana. Havana was a rooftop bar on top of Soul. So we went to see the place. Alright, this is nice. So we contacted the manager. It wasn't functional. So we did our own decorations and had my birthday party. Now we put the pictures out and everybody went crazy, like, where is this? Is this in Ghana? So I told Stanley that it would be a good opportunity, since it's a year of return, to do like a pop-up right there. And obviously, so we went to see the manager again. The manager and then went to say to the owner of the place, and then we had to, restructure, find the money to do the renovations, did the renovations. But the funny thing is, we had to set the place up in 2 weeks because December was just 2 weeks away. So we set it up quickly and did 3 private parties, which is a strategy that we use for most of the businesses, where we have selected few selected people come in, experience the service, advice, and give some suggestions. So we did that, and during all those private parties, we did good content and put it out. but the thing was we're not open to the public. So people were still seeing, people were not coming, had plans of coming down. And I mean, when we opened on the 6th of December to the public, it was just overwhelming because we had an influx of people, and it's been a success ever since. Post-COVID, it became very stressful to run it because of lockdown, we're supposed to close for a few months, and the rent there is quite high because we're in the center of the city.
Right.
We have the biggest car park in any hospitality business in Accra, and so a pile up of a lot of expenses, and now when business becomes functional again, you have to clear all those expenses before. So yeah, it's been a ride, but it's been a success.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah.
So during the year of return, when you saw all those people like queuing up downstairs, trying to get upstairs, how did that make you feel? Like, I know you were probably tired, probably didn't go home.
It's funny because, and I would say this for the first time, like, we went to a few friends to invest when we were beginning, but they didn't believe in the idea. So for me, when I would see 300 people upstairs and 400 people downstairs trying to get in, it was just, for me, a fulfilling point to prove to people that, you may not necessarily believe in an idea, but once you approach it and you do it diligently and do it well, it can fly, right? So it was a very comforting feeling, and it was also nice because I knew we were going to make money. I knew we were going to make money, and out of that business that we started, we were able to invest it in other things and start other things.
So after Luna, what came after?
After Luna, our landlord and partner is an amazing man. So he opened the venue up to us to explore other things. So we went into like a promoting partnership for Soho, which is like a restaurant / club. And then in 2021, we started doing a new concept, which is called the Sunken Garden, which is an amazing place. We built it from scratch. It's like a sunken garden, like a valley, so we called it a sunken garden. So that we finished in 2021, but we never opened it. We haven't opened it yet, but we now do private branches where we open it up
privately.
Have a guest list and people come and enjoy.
What's the plan for Luna and Sunken Gardens? What plan did you have?
There are 2 venues, separate venues. For me, I treat every business as an entity on its own. So there are different venues. Their crowds will be different. Type of clientele will be different. Sunken Garden is a smaller space. It's a more intimate space. Luna is a more bigger space. So we are just trying to see how the reception is going to be for Sunken and what kind of clientele we are going to get. And then based off of that, we'll see how to move forward.
So being in business, what would you say, what's the biggest things you've learned about yourself when you've in the world of business? What have you learned?
Time management, being able to structure your time, because for me, it's
how do you structure your time?
Attention to a lot of things.
What do you use? Do you set reminders, calendars? Do you have an assistant?
No. I had an assistant. I just in the morning prioritize the things I need to do and then just get to it. Right. But for us, at the end of the day, you need to visit each of the venues. You need to, on Friday night, you need to go Luna, you need to go Soho, because we started a live band thing, and then end up at Ugly Chef. Try to stay a little bit, sometimes it gets, so for me, when it gets very packed. You know, people are ordering a lot. I get in the kitchen myself and help the staff. So, you know, you end up leaving at 3, 4 a.m. Get home and you have maybe a private gig 7 a.m. in the morning. You have to get up and then go. Have a couple of meetings and, you know, and also, you know, there are other things we want to get into. So, you know, just being able to structure your time to accommodate all of these things. Also, the main thing is the fact that, you know, once you put your mind to something that you want to do it, you'll be able to do it as long as you have the drive and you're not lazy. Now, you know, it's funny because we've entered, you know, a space where money is really important, but you really don't need a lot of money to start something, right?
What do you need?
You need a drive, right? You need a drive, and so for instance, I'll tell you for Biishville, I started with my monthly stipend for school, which I gathered for a few months, right? And all I had to do was go on social media, message all these influencers and musicians and artists who were popular at that time. So I messaged all of these people and said, listen, I'm a young guy who's trying to start a culinary business. I'm having a tasting session at my brother's apartment. Please show up. All 30 people I invited showed up. I did the tasting. And then out of there, I got all the bloggers writing good things about me. And that led me to my first job. And that led me to my second job. And the recommendation from the first job I had led me to my third job. Like, you understand? So, because of the power of the internet and social media now, you know, once you have a little, you can always start. And then plow back the money you make into as a reinvestment into the business, right? So, it's true and it is good that if you have the chance, you have a big capital to start a business. Or if you have access to funds, you have people giving you money in exchange for equity or giving you money as debt to start a business. But you can also start without having a lump sum of money, right? So I like to encourage people to, you know, discover what they are good at and what is a passion point for them and try and explore it by, you know, using the internet as a tool, you know. I'm not very good with my social media handles because in the span of working, I realized that 90% of my clients were
they're not on social media,
because of the kind of segment or targeted audience I have. But then I realized that all their kids, these rich people, their kids are on social media. So they go, they see your thing. If there ever comes a conversation where they need to find a private chef or a catering company, they can refer you, right? So it's indeed a powerful tool, you know.
And you mentioned partnership. How important is it when you're starting a business to have partnership? Because some people think they can do it on their own.
I wish if I had known, I wish all my businesses were started as a partnership, because you realize the pool. So my partner, so I'll talk about two partners. So Stanley it's more into tech and the creative industry and marketing, and he brings that on board. You have Yao, who is also into marketing and like strategy development and consultancy, also brings that in. So if you come together to form something, let's say it's a restaurant, this one is bringing the knowledge in marketing, branding, and tech in hospitality. I'm bringing my culinary expertise. He's bringing strategy and business development. So when you come together, it's a solid force to reckon with in terms of competition, rather than, you know, going in as an expertise in just one field. And then now you even have to spend money to employ people to do marketing, branding, and all.
You don't have to do
right?
that. You've got the experts, right?
Yeah, of course. Even though it is recorded as a business expense, in order to really see the profitability of a business, everything that the business needs to pay for must be accounted for in order to see the true profit of the business. But it's easier to have someone in the business who has the expertise than to bring in and pay a lot of money for that.
Yeah. So I would say you are someone who takes risks.
Oh,
because each of the businesses is very risky. There's a lot of money that you've sacrificed. You're a young guy. You could be spending your money on other things, but you're rather investing your money. So what would you say to someone who wants to start something but they're just
it's all rosy when people see it from the outside, but I'll tell you a funny story. Like, it's always been a dream to own a restaurant, right? And that dream is very close. And I remember my partners and I had an upcoming project. And we lost that project in a span of like a few hours, right? And that taught me a lesson of, some of the risks that are involved in doing business. And that's why it's important for everybody who wants to go into business to do a lot of risk assessment and try to see where it can go wrong and where it can't. And I'll just say to people who want to go into business that it's not you don't need to have too much at the time that you want to get into it, right? You just need to believe in yourself at the initial point. But believing in yourself is not also enough. There needs to be steps that are taken, right? So you have hard work, you have consistency. Because when people come into your space, like Luna, and today the food tastes this way, and today the food tastes this way, tomorrow the food tastes this way. There's no motivating factor for any aspect of customer retention to be achieved, right? But if you are able to stay consistent with it, you'll be able to build a brand where people know you for a specific reason, right? Young people should also still look into, using technology as a tool to market their businesses and things that they get into. Young people should be more open to partnerships because I have become a very big believer of partnering up, and I think that's a good way to go.
Partnership. Yeah. Okay. Do you think you've discovered your why and your purpose here?
Most definitely. I think through some of the charitable things I've been able to do, like my work with the UN and, advocating for refugees and all of that, I feel like God put me here to be able to, I think the purpose of all of us is to be able to be our brother's keeper, right? But in this modern world, in being able to do that, you need substance, which is money, right? So I feel like the blessings that I have received in being able to form and maintain a business is to be able to give me the resources to be able to extend a helping hand in being able to solve social issues and like street kids. I used to do a street run where I make like gourmet food and give out to street children, and like I work with the UN advocating for refugees and all of that. I think everyone is put here to be able to extend help to other people. So I think I'm in line with my purpose now. I haven't reached, but I'm in line.
Okay, so you said you haven't reached. What is the goal? What do you have?
I mean, the goal is to be able to have a group. So it's to be able to have an umbrella where there are a lot of hospitality businesses, restaurants. I'm moving away from more of the nightlife things.
So you're moving away?
Yes, because I realized you know, it's not very sustainable when you are someone who wants to have a family, right? You don't always want your kids to be asking where daddy is, and you know. So for me, and another thing is, I have very responsible parents and parents who were always there. But I realized when I was growing up that my dad used to travel a lot, and that vacuum that was always left there created a space between him and I, right? Which has been bridged now, but I don't want to have that impact on my kids. So there's a way I want to go into or approach business where I don't necessarily have to be out through the night. I can be out in the day doing things, but I always need to make time to spend with my family.
With your family, wow. Do you see yourself living out of Ghana? Because I've been seeing you have been traveling all around Europe.
You know, at the state of the Ghanaian economy now, there's always reason for you to be able to extend yourself or have an extension of yourself and your business in other spaces. I also feel like, because I'll give you a scenario. If I make 1 million Ghana cedis and I convert it into pounds, because I have a business where I need to order drinks from London or I need to order drinks from Paris. That 1 million, the value of that 1 million now, because now the pound is about 15 cedis per 1 pound. So if I take 1 billion and I convert it into pounds, there's only much it can get me, right? So if you have a way to make foreign exchange or foreign income, then you can be able to use that income to offset some of these costs and keep the cities in Ghana. Once you need to do the conversion, you lose money. A lot of business people in Ghana who had a lot of dollars or a lot of foreign exchange lost money when there was the influx of the currencies. And for me, I think the goal is to be able to not only have an impact in the hospitality industry in Ghana, but around the world. So I want to extend to Italy, I want to extend to London, I want to extend, and that's why it's important that the new series I started called The Taste of Africa, which is expanding on the African cuisine in private members clubs, is very important because it opens people up to the potential of the African cuisine, as I said before. And it's a traveling series. So each country I go to. Because you've done it in London. Yes, I've done it in London, I've done it in Lagos. And a few countries are coming up now, about 4 different cities this year. And it just, the impact that we leave in all of these places is just amazing. So I just want to be able to spread myself as far as I can, and I want to make a lot of money, right?
You're already a millionaire.
Hey, amen. I want to make a lot of money so I can also be able to help other people. So,
you've done so well.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that.
Thank you.
Because I know you probably sit back and you look back and you're like, wow, my life has actually transformed, and it's only the beginning. I'm sure you're thinking it's only the beginning.
I don't think I ever saw my life becoming the way it has from the bungalow, till now. It's been a journey, but I always knew I would be successful, right?
And here you are.
Sitting with the biggest
So thank you so much for coming to have a chat with me. It's nice to get to know a bit more about what you've done and what you're hoping to do, and I'm always rooting for you.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Hey.